Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into the powerful principles from Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership, and we're using a summary from Katabi Manzil to break it all down.
All right, let's kick things off with a tough question. When you fail, whose fault is it? I mean, really. It's so easy to point fingers, right? It's bad luck, it's your boss, it's the economy. We all have these comfortable excuses we tell ourselves. But there's another way to look at it. A much harder truth, one that was forged on the battlefields of Iraq.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, excuses and leadership begins. Then we'll get into the warrior's mindset, leading the team to victory, how to make decisions under pressure, and we'll wrap up with this really cool idea that discipline is true freedom.
All right, first section, excuses and leadership begins. And really, this is the absolute core of the whole book. It's a pretty radical idea that, honestly, changes everything.
Look, on the one hand, you've got the stuff we tell ourselves all the time. Those comfortable lies. Oh, it was just bad luck. My team just didn't pull their weight. The tech glitched out. But the battlefield truth? It's just one simple, brutal sentence. Everything is your fault. And yeah, they mean everything.
So what does extreme ownership actually mean? It means the leader, and that's you, is responsible for absolutely everything in their world. Not some things, not most things, everything. The book puts it so bluntly, it's almost shocking. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. Think about that for a second.
Okay, to really get this, we have to go to a pretty dark place. A real-life story from Jocko Willink's time commanding Navy SEALs in Ramadi, Iraq. It's the middle of a chaotic battle, and the absolute worst thing that can happen happens. A friendly fire incident. One of his SEAL teams ends up firing on another friendly SEAL team. One soldier was killed, and several more were wounded. Just a total disaster.
So after this tragedy, High Command wants to know one thing: who is to blame? And you can just imagine the number of excuses Jocko could have used, right? The technology failed, communications were down, the enemy was attacking. I mean, a million things. But instead, he stood up in front of everyone and said just 3 words. It was my fault. And just like that, the blame game stopped, and everyone could immediately focus on how to fix things so it never happened again. And here's the crazy part. He didn't get fired. He actually earned more respect.
Okay, next up, a warrior's mindset. Because let's be real, to take that kind of ownership, that's not just something you say. It's a whole different way of thinking. It's an internal battle you have to win first.
And what's that biggest enemy? It's your own ego, right? The ego is what stops you from listening, stops you from admitting you're wrong. It's that voice in your head that's always screaming, I'm right. Jocko tells this great story about planning a mission. A junior sniper, one of the lowest-ranking guys in the room, speaks up and points out a pretty big flaw in the plan. Now, an ego-driven leader would have just crushed him, but Jocko actually listened, and he realized, hey, this kid's right. So they changed the plan. That one simple act of checking his ego at the door, it probably saved lives.
So, once you've won that internal battle with your ego, now you can start leading your team effectively. Let's talk about leading the team to victory, because your attitude as the leader sets the tone for absolutely everyone.
This is perfectly illustrated by this awesome story from SEAL training. You've got these boat races, right? And there are 2 crews. One crew that wins every single time, and another crew that just always loses. The boats are identical, the guys on the teams are all physically similar. So what do the instructors do? They just swap the leaders. And guess what happens? The losing team with the new winning leader starts winning. It's just proof. The only thing that changed was the leader. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders.
So how do you get your team to work together? By using a SEAL tactic called cover and move. It's simple. One part of the team lays down covering fire so the other part can move forward safely. They work together. Now think about the corporate world. How often do you see sales blaming marketing for bad leads and marketing blaming sales for not closing them? They're shooting at each other. A leader with extreme ownership gets them to see that the real enemy isn't in the next cubicle. It's the competition. And the only way to win is to cover for each other.
Okay, let's talk about decisions under pressure. Because whether you're on a battlefield or in a boardroom, things get chaotic. Plans fall apart. So, how do you bring order to that chaos?
The first rule is just to keep it simple. There's a saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. If your plan is some super complex 50-slide PowerPoint, it's going to fail. It has to be simple enough for everyone, from top to bottom, to understand it even when things are going crazy. And if they don't get it, well, you know the drill by now. That's not on them. That's on you for not making it simple enough.
So what do you do when you're just totally overwhelmed? You've got 10 fires to put out at once and you just freeze. The answer is a simple mantra: prioritize and execute. First, you just pull back, take a breath, and relax. Then you identify the single biggest problem, the one thing that if you solve it will make everything else easier. And then you throw all your resources at that one thing. Solve it. Then, and only then, do you move on to the next one. It's how you turn that overwhelming chaos back into simple, manageable order.
All right, we're at our final section, and it's probably the most famous idea from the entire book. Discipline is true freedom. Now, I know that sounds like a total contradiction, right? But stick with me, because it's the key that ties all of this together.
Yeah, discipline equals freedom. We usually think of discipline as the opposite of freedom, don't we? It's a restriction, it's a cage. But Jocko's argument is that discipline isn't the cage, it's the key that unlocks the door.
And it makes perfect sense when you break it down. If you have financial discipline, what do you get? Freedom from worrying about money. If you have discipline with your health and fitness, you get freedom from being sick and weak. If you have mental discipline to do the work even when you don't feel like it, you get freedom from being a slave to your moods. And that's the whole point. Extreme ownership, it's the ultimate discipline. It frees you from that prison of making excuses and blaming everyone else, and it puts you and only you in control.
So I want to leave you with a question to really think about. Pick the biggest failure in your life, and be honest. What part of it was 100% your responsibility? Now, this isn't about making you feel bad or guilty. It's the exact opposite. Because the second you can truly own your part in the failure, you're no longer a victim. In that moment, you gain the power to be the source of the solution. And that, right there, is extreme ownership.